Hey y'all, welcome to today's video where I'm going to talk about the good and bad of delegation in your small business. Alright, so as your business grows, you might find the need to start delegating some of the tasks in your business off to other people. And we're going to talk about both the good and the bad of this and why you may need to do it, why you may not need to do it, and some tips and tricks to help you do it. So as you progress through the different stages of your small business, you might find it perfectly acceptable to stay at a certain level, to only grow so much, and to keep restraints on your time and level of commitment with your business. If it's meeting your needs, then this is perfectly fine. This is okay to do, and don't worry about it. The point of being self-employed is to be able to have the level of freedom and control that you're looking for in a small business. However, I would like to point out that if your business is comfortable, then there might exist a chance where that business could suddenly erode one day. Any number of market conditions could change along the way to force you out of your comfort zone and to force you to make changes that you may not be comfortable with in your business. So this is more or less a hedge against future problems. And I understand bringing on an employee or bringing somebody else into your business, not only from giving away any kind of trade secrets that you've got or anything that you've figured out, you're trying to make an assessment of a person's character, their willingness to work, and generally who they are in just a few simple questions, or maybe spending 30 minutes with them in an interview and trying to make a long-term commitment based off of that. It's perfectly understandable to approach this with some trepidation. So in most micro or home-based businesses, the tendency there is for you to wear multiple hats, for you to try to do everything in your business, not only as a cost-saving measure, but to have full ownership of everything in there and to ensure that it's done right. After all, this is probably the thing that inspired you or that said, I can actually make a business out of this and this can be viable. Most micro and small businesses get a bad rap about being all the time working in the business rather than on the business, and that's true to some extent. This video will hopefully serve as a way to transition out of that mold. So in my own personal journey when I was working through some of these decisions, there were a few things related to the business that I didn't have the skill set to do. I can do a lot of things, but there were a few things that I just couldn't do. And so I started looking out for not only one qualified people that would be able to do it. I'm nowhere near at the level to where I could actually bring somebody on as even a part-time employee. I could barely pay a contractor at this point. So more or less the services that I need to farm off to people, I had to spend time either learning the skill set myself or finding somebody who was willing to either barter or accept very little in terms of payment. So depending on what stage of the business that you're at, that can determine how you make those type of decisions. But going forward, it's critical to understand that some of those skills that you might have had to learn might have been just one-time tasks. This isn't something that you would need to do going forward, like designing a logo. But in some instances, it could be something that you would need, like maintaining a website, keeping your information up to date, especially when it relates to e-commerce, because you need to go in there and add new products, change descriptions, respond to customer feedback, things like that. The point is to not occupy your time to the point where you're performing more role-based work. Even if you're generating revenue and possibly even generating profit, you really need to look at farming some of this off in order to free up some of your time to be strategic. Yes, it's going to cost you money, but this in the long run will actually make you make money. You also have to have a fair assessment of what value these skill sets bring to your business. If you're spending 20 hours learning something that's not going to benefit you further down the road or isn't going to be of any strategic value, then that's a prime candidate of something that you might want to farm off to even a contractor or a freelancer. You don't have to hire somebody with a long-term commitment. There are actually directories available of people willing to do any level of freelance work related to a business. So whether it be graphic design, if you have an app that you need designed, any programming skills that you might need, people are out there willing to offer their skills and they're hungry for your business. In the end, both of your needs get met because they're both earning revenue for work that they perform and they're experts in their field. And then you're saving the time to be able to make strategic decisions, maybe where you need to advertise, how you need to advertise, or maybe thinking up possible product improvement or service offerings that you don't currently have. So as you grow beyond the stage where you can simply farm everything off to a contractor or to a freelancer, then you'll eventually hit the growth stage to where you need to focus on hiring employees. And this can be understandably scary. You remember from your days of being an employee, hoping that you would land a job that 5 years later, 2 years later, or even a year later, that you weren't going to be let go from that position. You would have an understanding of steady income as long as there were no performance problems. As long as you do your job, advance, you should get raises. You should at least keep up with the rate of inflation. You should be able to move forward in that position. In Japanese companies, oftentimes the standard is that as long as you keep your nose clean, so to speak, then you will have your job for life. That's just an expectation within business in Japan. Oftentimes their employees may not get paid similarly, but there's not this rat race going on of constantly jumping from position to position to jockey into something better. Looking back through history, we used to have a similar system here, but the system has evolved and you find yourself constantly jumping from position to position to make better money, improve your working conditions, and generally this is about stability. So the real reason that most of us went into small business anyway was so that we could improve the stability so that we don't have to jump around from place to place. We don't have to reinvent ourselves every few years. We don't have to stay up on current skills that benefit other people. So in hiring an employee, there are a few things that are critical. And again, it's making an investment. The investment is really two-way. You're investing in somebody else's skills, time, with the understanding that they'll be with you for the long term. They will continue to provide value, and their skill set will also grow so that they provide more value in relation to the pay that you're paying them. So as you pay them more, not just for the time that they've served, you're expecting their skill set to grow. Conversely, from somebody that you're trying to hire, they're expecting you to make a long-term commitment to them so that in a year you're not having to let people go. Most people that are in charge of hiring and firing employees tell you that's probably the worst thing that they have to go through is to let somebody go, especially if it's due to revenue reasons or some kind of job performance. You also have to have a little bit of understanding of the labor market when you start to hire people. So you have to come to a realization of how much this position is actually worth and what the market will support in terms of what you're wanting to pay somebody. Obviously, the more skill that the position requires, the more that you're going to have to offer for that position to be able to attract somebody qualified and to expect that person to stay with you for a while and not just be using you as a stepping stone to move on to a better gig. Especially in this day and age of the Great Resignation where everybody's moving around for better pay, better working conditions, better terms, then you're having to match what the market is supporting, and the market is supporting higher wages right now, especially in skilled positions. As your business progresses, you're going to notice that certain tasks are recurring and they recur within a regular interval in terms of time. And so what can be an indicator of is that this constitutes a role. And so a role needs a person to handle that. So this could be anybody from friends and family that can chip in from time to time. But realistically, if you're focusing on growth, then you really need to make the step of bringing in outside people at this point. This is also your chance to pay people back for the good that was done to you in terms of investments in time and skill and learning. The great part is that you have the freedom to determine whether you can just simply farm things off like payroll, for instance. You don't have to have a full-time payroll personnel. There are companies out there that will handle payroll for you. That's one less employee that you would need to account for and to provide services for. Bear in mind as well any kind of insurance regulations or benefits that need to be provided for full-time employees, that you're able to offer that at that stage of your business. So the perfect example of somebody that delegates things very well would be a general contractor to build homes. The contractor probably started out many years ago as a worker, maybe with a specialty. Might have been an electrician, might have been a plumber, might have been just a general laborer in another construction firm. The point is that contractor has knowledge of every different system that would go into a house, from electrical, plumbing, and carpentry. They have knowledge of those, but they're not expected when they're building a house to perform all of those tasks individually. There's simply no way that it could be done in a timely manner. The contractor also understands that their name is placed on any kind of work that's out there, and their name is as good as their reputation. So they have a vested interest to check on anybody that's working under them to make sure the work performed is up to their standards. But the point being that work is farmed off onto other people. That frees the contractor up to be strategic in terms of gaining new business, gaining new advertising, figuring out strategic points in the business to keep it going. And this might even involve a management role where you have other contractors up underneath you. Really, in terms of growth potential, the sky's the limit with any business. It's just how far you're willing to pursue it. The other great thing is that once you have somebody on board, then you have a chance again to reinvest in them. It was done to you at some point. These skills were imparted in you. That's what I've spoken about in other videos, is using what you have either laying around or use skills that have already been invested in you. And a lot of times you might be willing to leave your current position just because somebody's not willing to take a chance on you. There might have been a role come up that you knew you were perfectly capable for, but you just never had the chance to be able to take that on and to shine and to improve your situation. Oftentimes it's not about money. A lot of times this is about proving that you're capable of doing something. Even if it's to yourself, that's okay. Again, there are others out there that are like you and me, and they're just looking for the chance to shine. They're looking for that role to step into to really prove themselves that they can do it. So much like in traditional employment, your coworkers become a second family. You spend a decent portion of your life, even if you just take a standard of 40 hours a week. When you look proportionally at the number of hours in a week, even if you work only 40 hours at work and you sleep 40 hours, that's based off 8 hours a night, then you can really see how much time that you spend with these people. And you grow together as a set of coworkers. So as a small business owner, then you have a chance to create that company culture, if you will. You have the chance to create your own family. It's like they always say, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. Well, in this case, you actually can. And much like with your traditional family, as the years go by, you grow with these people, you learn to form relationships with them. These are by choice at this point. So again, like you might have to discipline a child, you might have to discipline an employee, but understand that it's done out of love. There are many books, there are many videos out there on management style. I'm probably not going to touch on that just because it's kind of out of the scope of what I'm trying to do. But the point is that there are tips out there to allow you and help you to be a better manager towards people. Even if it's relational skills, if it's active listening, there are several different tactics that you can learn, even through books or through videos, to make you a better employer. So what I'd like you to take away from the video is this. It's perfectly okay to stay in your current state and to leave the restrictions in place that you have on your work's time. How much of your work-life balance is taken up by your employment. That's perfectly okay. More oftentimes than not, your business will grow to the point that you need to bring on employees. These employees will become like your family, and they will grow along with you in their skill set. So as you learn new things, they will learn new things. Some of them will be taught by you. Some of them will be learned through the course of their work. Your role should transition to becoming that of a strategic advisor or for specific technical help, not as the part of your ongoing role. And this is finally how you can achieve actually working on your business rather than simply working in it. Hey, I'd like to take a second just to say thank you for watching my video. Make sure you please like and subscribe, and when you get a moment, check out my website, CameliaStartup.com.